What's up, everyone? This is Andrew here with Spark Finance, and I wanted to discuss the idea of inflation, right? What is inflation exactly? If you're looking at a simple definition of it, it is a rise in general price levels over a period of time within the economy. And it is usually given as a percentage increase year over year. If inflation rises 2%, prices for goods and services in the economy, everything you want to buy goes up 2% per year. If inflation is at 5%, the cost of all the goods and services that you want to buy in the economy are going up 5% per year. Now, on a long-term historical average, this usually comes out to about 3.2% per year for inflation. And there are usually two different ways inflation is described as it comes from these two sources, right? You have demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation is when you have a really strong economy and everybody's out there working, the unemployment's low, things are going well, there's a lot of innovation and growth in the economy. And that means wealth is being created. And at the same time, the people that are earning that wealth, they want to go out and spend those dollars, that money that they have, those big bucks that they're making. So they go out into the economy and they spend it on whatever goods and services they want. And there's so many people doing that at the same time that the prices start going up because there's not enough of that to go around. If everybody wants to buy a jet ski at the same moment, there's not enough jet skis for everybody in the world or everybody in the economy right now. So the prices start to increase to meet or to catch up with the demand. The other thing here would be a cost push inflation scenario. That's the other one that happens. You have cost push inflation, means that a company like an automobile manufacturer, they have a lot of inputs, a lot of basic commodities that go into their final product of the car or SUV or truck or whatever. And what happens is sometimes the costs will go up, all the prices will go up on their inputs, their basic metals, their plastics, their fabrics that they need to put into the car. So what they do is they push that inflation, that general price increase onto the customer because they have to maintain their same profit margins to be a profitable business. Those are the two main ones, but there is also a third side of this that is not really spoken about as much. So I was thinking about this and I was like, if you go into an old dictionary, like the old Webster dictionary here, and you're trying to see, okay, what is the old definition of inflation? Where did it come from and all that, right? So inflation, let's see. Undue expansion or increase, as in paper currency, prices, etc. So the key here, undue expansion or increase as in paper currency. What are they talking about there? Why is that a little bit different than the newer definition that is used, right? So looking at that, this goes into the famous saying that the economist Milton Friedman brought up. And he said that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon in the sense that it is and can be produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money than in output. So by output there, he's talking about the goods and services in the economy. If I just made every $100 bill you had worth $1,000, all of the prices in the economy would just increase to be equal to that change. If there's more money in the system and the goods and services are the same level, that means that prices will increase for those goods and services because they're scarce. So an example of this is, it's kind of different than the other ones that we talked about. If you have a cold, right, you might be coughing, you might have that as a symptom, right? That could be similar to inflation in the economy. But where do you actually get the cold? The cold comes from a virus. And so the virus is the actual cause. And a lot of this, and what they were saying in that quote there, is that increasing the money supply in an economy is what creates the symptom of inflation. The virus is what causes the symptom of the cough. So inflation means there is more money in the system chasing around the same number or less or fewer of goods and services. Now, since money becomes plentiful, if you have so much of this over here, then the prices are going to go up for scarce resources. Now think about the situation we have in 2021. It helps when there is a pandemic. The government starts putting out stimulus checks to help people out. The Federal Reserve is going into the open market and buying assets to push up asset prices. And less people are actually working and creating goods and services in the economy. At the same time, they're receiving a bonus for unemployment. The government is ending up spending a lot of money that they don't necessarily have and creates paper money in the economy and increases the supply of money in the economy. Now, since the United States has a fiat currency, that means there is nothing backing the US dollar. It is just a piece of paper. Actually, it is a piece of linen rag paper. That's why it doesn't disintegrate in the wash. But anyway, if you go to the bank, you can't exchange your dollar for, silver or tobacco or seashells or any of the other commodities that in the long history of the world have been used to back money in the past. That money is only backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. Because of this, the government and the Federal Reserve are able to, in a sense, print as much money as they think the economy needs to get by. And if the economy is kind of struggling, they like to add a lot of money into the system to kind of give it a jump start. Now, here is the issue with that. Money is like a system of measurement to show you value. If you want to know, how much that computer costs, you want to know the value you need to exchange for that computer. It would be similar to if you were using a ruler to try and do a home project. Let's say you were trying to build a patio or something, right? This would be like the money. This would be the measurement of value, and then you would have the lumber that you're putting out on your patio. Now, what happens if the ruler starts changing in value? All of a sudden, this isn't a foot. Maybe this is a foot, or this is a foot, or this is a foot. What if it was changing every hour or monthly and you have to keep changing your dimensions and your measurements to make sure your patio is correct? And that is why you have an economy that is constantly making adjustments to prices in an inflationary environment, because you have to make sure, just like the ruler, you want to make sure your deck is the proper length by using the correct measurement. The economy is changing prices based on the amount of money that is in the system. And that's why you can get some really crazy price changes in different areas that have happened in the past. So this is why you see a rapid price increase in some areas, slower changes in others, and general rise in overall prices as the economy is adjusting to the new measurement of money. A foot is no longer a foot is only 6 inches now. So you have to change all of the values in the economy. I thought that was a very interesting way to kind of try and picture what is going on here and why prices are changing so much. Now, how the price changes are actually measured to create that inflation number is coming from the Consumer Price Index, also known as the CPI number. This is how inflation is traditionally measured in the US. And what it does is it takes a large basket of goods and it looks at the price changes in that basket of goods over time. And what you can do with that is you can see, there was a 5% increase this year, so inflation's around 5%. There was a 10% increase. Inflation was 10%. And it gives a good idea or range of how much prices are increasing. There are also other measurements outside of the CPI that you can use to kind of gauge inflation. You have the Producer Price Index. Now, the CPI and the PPI, those come out, I think, from the BLS. They're official government statistics. And then you have stuff that's like the Big Mac Index from McDonald's that tracks McDonald's Big Mac prices around the world. Then there are stats that come from Shadow Stats, which they do the numbers that the CPI does, except the CPI tried to massage the numbers to make them make more sense over time. I mean, obviously a TV today is a better product than a TV from 50 years ago. So they try to kind of change around so you're comparing apples to apples, but that also throws off the numbers a bit. Now, the bad thing here is if inflation gets to hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is when you're seeing a 50% increase, not in a year for prices, but a 50% increases monthly or even more than that. This happened in Hungary in post-World War II period. It happened to Zimbabwe in 2007. It happened to Venezuela in 2019. If that happens, you better just head for the hills in hard assets. That's usually not a common occurrence though. But the basic explanation of inflation is that the prices of everything around you are going up year after year. And it's how much are the prices of all goods and services going up on average. Hopefully that helps give you a basic understanding of what inflation is. Thanks for watching Spark Finance. If you want, check out my other videos where I'll go into a little bit more depth on the topic.